I want to tell you how I met today's guest because it says everything that you need to know about her. We were at the gym and she's doing her own workout, but she's also helping other people and giving pointers, and people are asking her for advice. She gives me some pointers on my squat, and it was so interesting to me because I've never seen that in the gym where people were watching and listening and truly respecting her. And I'm standing there thinking, who is this woman? Like, what is going on here? Well, as it turns out, she's the kind of person who shows up everywhere like that with confidence and a genuine desire to make the people around her better. Tierra Duncan is an author, educator, and advocate for women's health. She's a veteran who served her country, and now she serves women in a completely different but equally important way by helping them cut through the confusion, question the stories they've been told about their own bodies, and finally understand their hormones. Her book, The Birth Control Illusion, is doing exactly what the title suggests, pulling back the curtain on information women deserve to have all along. She is brilliant, she is bold, and clearly she will correct your form when necessary. Please welcome Tierra Duncan. Happy to
Thank
have
you
you
for
here.
having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, always looking at people's squats.
That's awesome. All right, so tell me about your background. What made you join the military and what did you do there?
Yeah, so I joined the military as soon as basically I graduated high school. I wasn't the kind of kid that had a lot of ambition, much of a future. I barely graduated. College wasn't going to be an option for me, and staying at home was not viable. So the military really became, yeah, the only option I had. Thank goodness, because the amount of opportunities and discipline and growth I got from the military is bar none. Right? I can't talk about enough how much it's shaped who I've become today. And so I did almost 10 years, and during that time, I did aviation maintenance. So I worked on the F-16s, and I also worked in the intelligence field.
Amazing. Well, thank you for your service. And I'm wondering how that experience in the military shaped this person who went on to write a book about women's health, because those seem like two different worlds.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so the great thing about the military is it gave me structure, discipline, accountability, and this sense of, I don't want to say delusion, but I don't question myself if I set a goal. Do I always meet that goal? No, sometimes I fail, but I don't walk into a goal thinking I'm going to fail. I might know it's really difficult, but I've had to do hard things in the service, and that's translated to, yeah, maybe I can write a book. Why not? Let's see what happens. It's given me that kind of sense of confidence to just move forward and not let self-doubt and imposter syndrome hold me back from achieving things. Um, yeah, so that's how the military's helped me in that capacity.
I love that. That's so powerful, especially now to hear your background, where you came from, feeling like that was the only option for you, and to see you now as such a powerhouse that you are, like, in the gym and in life. That's really amazing that that was your result. So I I've heard you use the phrase rewriting the story of women's health. What is the old story that we're rewriting, and who wrote that story?
Yeah, that's a great question. Uh, I would say for a lot of women, regardless of stage of life, whether it's puberty, pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause, a lot of us have been told, just deal with it. Your symptoms are, they just are what they are. It's part of being a woman, and on the more extreme end, yeah, you're crazy. Yeah, you're just hormonal and you're annoying and you're hard to be around, or, oh, you're in pain all the time. I don't care, right? Like, um, yeah, that's extreme, but, or you don't feel good, here's a prescription. Go away, right? There's a lot of reasons why that narrative has existed. I think there are better studies and growing studies for women's health, but I would say historically that hasn't always been the case. And also, I just think the conventional medical system as well, you have these physicians and clinicians that have all these great intentions and really want to help people, but we have a system that keeps short appointments, insurance considerations, and alternative, and other kind of expansive testing is usually not something that comes to mind. And also, if I'm a physician and I know these pharmaceuticals or I know this other explanation or the surgery, whatever, can quickly fix your symptoms, I want you to feel better.
Mm.
I'm trying to do no harm. I'm trying to make sure you get to where you need to get to. So I think it's a mix of those things. And also just specific to women's health, a lack of education for us as participants in this system. My sex education was don't get pregnant, don't get an STD. And that's great, right? That's we don't want those things when you're 16. Most of us don't want those things at 16, but no one taught me about like what your menstrual cycle actually is. Why is it important? What are these reproductive hormones that are changing my body? Why are my hips getting bigger? Are my breasts growing? Why do I have acne now? What does this mean to be a woman, to become a woman? And uh, I just think it really we do a huge disservice to women as they're going through these stages of life. And then again, back to pregnancy and postpartum, there's wild things that happen during those stages in life that I feel like we just lack that education. And then perimenopause, menopause, forget it, right? So yeah, I think it's a lot of things, but my goal is I can only control what I can control, and that's just trying to package kind of complex science information in a way that's accessible and digestible so that you feel informed to make whatever decision makes the most sense for yourself.
Yeah. A lot of really great pieces that you highlighted there. You're reminding me of when I realized, I think I saw it somewhere on the internet that in health class, like in middle school, high school, they had those charts on the wall showing all the different muscles. And I realized at some point that those were always male. I had never seen a female like musculature and like it's different, right? Like the chest and the mammary glands and all of those things, they're different. So I'm curious for you, what was the moment that you realized that women were being given incomplete information about their own bodies? And what did you do with that when you realized that?
Yeah, so separate from, like, my military career, and I went later on to do defense contracting in tech, I started coaching CrossFit in 2015, and it started out just like group classes. Then I was, like, really into it. So, I started getting other certifications in nutrition and fitness programming, and I started working one-on-one with men and women, and I was having these consultations with my clients. We were working together, and I was seeing a lot of similar issues and things coming up. And then during that time, I was having my own kind of questions about the birth control use I had been on for over a decade. And that kind of all culminated into me wanting to do more research. And then once I started the research, game over. That's when I realized, like, holy cow, why didn't anybody tell me any of this? Or any of us this? So that's where that started.
And what's the most common thing that you hear from women who've read your book and have that similar moment of like, why didn't anyone tell me this?
Yeah, it really comes down it's usually like, I didn't know this is how birth control worked, and I
Mhm.
wanna be really clear, I'm talking about hormonal methods, not, barrier methods, uh, specifically, like, how these actually impact the body, what the potential side effects or benefits are, not understanding their cycle, and that it's actually, an indicator into our health. And that these like extreme symptoms that women get are not okay. It's telling us that there's something going on in the body. And then lastly, just again, how the reproductive hormones actually benefit us and aren't just reproductive. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone impact mood, libido, cognition, bone health, digestion. And once you realize that, and when you start um modulating how those things work in your body, it starts to make sense. It starts to click why I may be having certain side effects if I'm overly stressed, if I'm using a prescription that impacts my endocrine system, if I'm not eating enough. It just kind of puts all the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah. And so what I hear you talking about is being more aware of your own body, starting to listen to your own body, trusting your own body. And I feel like there's a tension sometimes between, and I hear this a lot, especially with my friends who are in perimenopause right now, like trusting your own body and trusting the experts. Um, which you also reminded me earlier of, I don't know if you've seen on like X where people post like there's this medical condition, it's like a broken ankle or, a whatever, broken wrist. And it says, medical experts, please diagnose this. And everyone in the comments is like, oh, is it a woman? She needs to lose weight. She needs to exercise more. And it's just
So
all the comments
true.
are that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that feels pretty,
Yeah.
pretty resonant. So with this tension between trusting experts and trusting your own body, what does it cost women when they get that balance wrong? I guess in either direction.
Yeah. Misdiagnosis, right, would probably be the first thing that comes to mind, especially women that deal with things like endometriosis, PCOS, which is now PMOS, thyroid issues, insulin issues. There's so many things that can be impacted by our lifestyle factors that even on a standard like panel, oh, everything looks good, but you're telling the doctor, like, I'm not okay. I don't feel okay. I'm always exhausted. I've gained weight in my midsection. I don't know what to do. I think it just comes down to you not feeling heard, potentially having a misdiagnosis, and then just feeling like you have to accept the state that you're in and not knowing what resources or tools that are accessible to you that you can do on your own potentially. I think that's what women lose. And also, even men lose when they kind of go through their men are just as susceptible to metabolic dysfunction and libido issues and all kinds of stuff. So I think that's on both ends.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great point, and you're touching on, like, the hopelessness. Like, I know when I was diagnosed with PMOS, it was just like, "Oh, I guess I took it as, like, a victim." I just felt so hopeless in that moment, but I think the work that you're doing is so impactful because you can, when you have more knowledge, you have more power and you can do more for yourself. So, thank you for doing what you're doing.
I mean, that's the
Um
goal. I don't want anyone to think that I have all the answers in my book. And I think unlike some other people in this space, I am not here to tell you what to do. If you are looking at my book to find a guide to get better, that is not what you're going to find. I am Here's the education, here are the resources. You need to figure out for your life and your circumstances what makes the most sense. Um, and it's not that I think anything is wrong with prescriptive style education. I really don't. Uh, but that's out of place. I am not a doctor, right? That's above my pay grade. But I'm extremely passionate about education, and I
yeah.
think that gives you the most power um, to take the steps that make the most sense.
Yeah. It's such a respectful way to go about your work. Like, A, it sounds like you're unbiased, and B, by not forcing or being prescriptive, you are letting people, because people's experiences and viewpoints are so unique. So you're empowering people with the knowledge and with the education, and you're not coming with this biased approach of this is right or this is wrong. You're saying, I'm just giving you the information, like do what's right for you. I love
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the main thing is feel free to question it all. I love that, that's ask all the questions, because that's how you get to what's gonna help you the most.
Yeah, I love that. So, on this thread of listening to our bodies, I'm imagining that in the military, there are times when you have to push through, and I think you called it compartmentalize when we were talking before, like ignore signals from your body essentially. So, is that true? Did you find that you had to unlearn that? What does that look like?
Yeah, definitely. That's a complicated answer. Yes, there are times, when we're talking about life and death scenarios, where you need to put that discomfort, those things aside because again, somebody's life or the mission or multi-million dollar equipment, whatever it is dependent on you needing to be present in place. Absolutely. And that's not just military jobs, right? That's firefighters and police officers, emergency room nurses. There's so many jobs that you have to put it to a side. Uh, yes, there was some element of that once I got out of the military. getting into the fitness space, the health space, working with other women, I started to reflect back on, oh, okay, I can see where I pushed these things off or ignored these things. I can think specifically when I got back from, I only had one deployment. But when I got back from Afghanistan, I was just angry.
Mm.
I was angry. I was, I just couldn't, everything felt silly to me, or everything felt, I don't know what the word is, inconsequential. Having to make an appointment or talk to, I was just angry at everything. And it took me almost a year to realize that, like, hey man, that is not okay. That's not normal. And I think who I am now, I would recognize that a lot sooner
Mm.
and go, oh, okay, we need to figure this out. We need to regulate our nervous system again. Um, yeah, so I forgot what the original question was. I'm sorry.
No, it's we were just talking about when you have to unlearn that
Yes, 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 yes.
compartmentalization. I
Yeah.
just love though that you said I only did one deployment because
Oh.
it's like, um, I think that's like the bravest thing in the world. Like yeah, I would never like choose that. So I have so much respect. So,
Yeah, I shouldn't, I think there's a tendency, and this might be a female tendency, right, to kind of underplay or I'm very aware and I acknowledge that so many veterans have gone through things way more difficult than I have. And yeah, I think there's a tendency sometimes to undersell what you've experienced, or say what I've experienced. But I do want to be respectful of people that have gone through really horrific trauma as well. I don't want to oversell anything either.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's a lot of
The
different
balance.
varying degrees of
Mhm.
experiences and in many cases trauma for
Oh,
people. So,
100%. Yeah, you don't get anger without trauma. I'll
yeah.
usually, yeah, I'm no psychologist, but from what I've understood, a lot of people where anger is an emotion that's easy to access, it's usually grief, right? It's
Mm,
usually repressed sadness and repressed grief that you're just, like, not processing, and so you're like, I can be angry."
yeah,
Anything could
right. It
be
is easy to tap into
or
anger. Yes.
disassociate, or, whatever your pattern is. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So I love that we're digging into some hard stuff. I'm thinking about your work in encouraging women to dig into the hard stuff with their doctors, ask harder questions. Where do you find that self advocacy breakdown typically start? So if someone's looking to advocate for themselves, but they start to struggle with it, how does that start?
Yeah, I think a lot of us have been in that situation where you go to provider, you want to trust what is being said is the full picture, and maybe you don't have accessible those follow-on questions. Or if you don't really understand the mechanism of what's happening in your body, how do you even know what to ask? It really comes down to you don't know what you don't know. And so, like in my book, after each chapter, I do have questions to ask your doctor. I'm not saying you have to ask them, but just I want you to sit with it. I want you to think about it and reflect and say, "Oh, are these things that do apply to me or maybe not?" And I think that's just having the acknowledgement that you can ask questions, that you can go, "Ah, okay, I know this is a 15-minute appointment, but I'm not done." Right? Um, and I'll talk to somebody else, but, like, I'm not gonna leave here unless I have a few more answers. You're not an inconvenience. And I think some women, I've been in that situation where you feel like you don't wanna take up that space or take up that time, but, gosh darn it, like, if you're having medical issues and you need to talk to somebody and get the answers. Stay as long as you need in that appointment. Like I said, you're not a bother, you're not, no. Do what you need to do.
Yeah, and there's no one who will take better care of us than ourselves. There's no one who will fight for us better than ourselves. Like the doctors are often well-intentioned, but they do have, how many other 15, 20 other people that they're going to see that day. So it is really up to us. And I love that you're empowering people with the actual questions that they can have going in. Cause I do this. I have like notes app on my phone and I'm like, and my favorite doctor, and my OBGYN, she knows that I come in with my list of questions and she'll say, what else? She'll answer it. What else? And I love that she doesn't push me out the door, right? Because no, we deserve that time and we deserve that for ourselves.
And you can set the precedent like you have, and there's nothing wrong. Again, there's nothing wrong with taking up that space and that time.
Yeah. I love that. So, what do you think hormone health actually looks like for a woman who is running a team, managing stress, not sleeping enough?
Oh, I think, so if you're looking at signs of like dysfunction, or dysregulation, if you're doing all these things and you find that like you're waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you just can't go back to sleep. You're wired, but you're exhausted, right? That's a sign that maybe you're taking on a little bit too much or you're not fueling enough for you're not recovering. If you have no appetite and then you're binging at night, right? Those are cues that there's something going on, right, with that stress system. You're not making time for yourself, period. Whether that's a 15-minute walk, a 45-minute, I don't know, session on the elliptical, like, or even just a 15-minute meditation, whatever that looks like for you, every day, if when possible, you need to create something for yourself. It can't always be about other people, um, serving them all the time. And again, I think especially mothers, but anybody that's a caregiver, if you are high functioning, you have a career, you're a mother, we have a tendency to just try to take care of everybody else. But hormone health is going to look like prioritizing your basic needs because you cannot fill from an empty cup. Now, your cup might be almost empty, and that's just the reality of being a mom, or managing a high production team. But you got to fill it a little bit.
Yeah. And I love one of the things that helped me the most because I do tend to be that typical like woman that will over index on helping other people versus myself. When I started meditating, the app that I use, Headspace, they always point out like who in your life benefits from you taking care of yourself.
Mm.
And it's like, I wish we didn't have to justify taking care of ourselves, but if we do, like it helps me to remember I'm better for the people in my life when I have time to take care of myself.
Oh,
Um,
a better friend, a better supervisor, a better mom, a better wife, whatever, sister. Like, yeah, you are. And uh, having a lot of mom friends and being a mom myself, we also just deserve to be happy. It's okay to want fulfillment and happiness and joy that's not just centered around your career or your kid. It can be other things. If you love crocheting, if you love painting, if you love CrossFit, which I do and you do, it's okay to have those things.
yeah. And that's setting a great example. If
Yeah,
you're a parent, that's setting a great example for your children too.
absolutely.
I love
Yeah.
that. Okay. So someone's watching. What is the one thing that you would want them to do differently after today?
Simplify your life.
Mm.
I think in the wellness space, I just wrote my main newsletter to my subscribers, and one of the things that I talked about was when you get into the wellness space and longevity and all this, it's like take this supplement, do this 4-step routine. I think for a lot of us, that's very overwhelming. And we can do very simple, small things that can make a significant impact in the day. Consistent sleep wake times or um, consistent eating, prioritizing protein at meals, like just these really small, hydrating throughout the day. It doesn't have to be complicated. If you are someone that is go, 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 and you wanna find a way to better your hormonal health, keep it easy, keep it simple. Your bucket is already overflowing. Don't add something that's going to make it unattainable.
Such good advice. Who doesn't want to simplify more? Like, that's the best piece of advice. I'm going to
Streamline,
take that.
simplify. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So, if someone wants to go deeper with your work, where should they find you?
Yeah, so if they want to look into the book on the birth control illusion, it's available on all places you can buy books online, so Amazon, Barnes& and Nobles. I also did the audiobook myself, so that's available on Audible. I have my website, tiaraduncan.com, and then I'm both on YouTube and Instagram as Tiara Duncan author. On YouTube, I put a lot of like just short content, educational content, and I also do interviews on there. So yeah, that's where people can find me. And LinkedIn, I love not on there as much, but yeah.
Awesome. We'll be sure to link to everything to make it super easy for people to find you and get your book. And thank you so much for all of the great information today and your stories and your vulnerability. I appreciate it. It's been awesome to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly.